SAYU is the newest featured character in Genshin Impact. In the Genshin 2.0 patch, we're currently given a SAYU banner, with SAYU being the featured rate-up characters. So, what do you have to say about SAYU? Well, she's incredibly fun. But everyone knows, fun is the least important factor in Genshin Impact, and what you guys really want to know is how good she's in the meta, and that's why you're here. SAYU is not super amazing in the aspect of that she is not meta changing. She doesn't really bring anything new to the table. To put it in short, SAYU is just basically a budget Jean, or I would even go as far as to say that she is a Jean clone or Jean 2.0, which is actually really amazing because SAYU is a 4-star character that is a lot more available than Jean is. So by being able to match to Jean, that is a good thing. Now, of course, I still think that Jean is slightly better because there's several advantages that Jean have, like fall damage, abuse, or just getting a bigger heal. But it only makes sense that 5-star characters are better than the 4-star equivalent. miHoYo will surely never make a 4-star that is better than a 5-star, right? SAYU's elemental skill puts you into a ball and roll forward when you hold it, and it's a very efficient way of traveling because it costs you no stamina. You also generate 1 particle every 3 seconds. However, this is very inefficient in terms of heal time, so unless SAYU is your main DPS, this is not a great way to generate energy. The little kick at the end, which will also happen if you just tap your elemental skill, will actually generate 2 particles, which is by far way more efficient than holding your roll skill. However, a roll into an immediately tap cancel is by far the most efficient way to generate energy, as it will get you 3 total particles, 1 from the roll and 2 from the kick. Now, interestingly enough, is that Jean elemental skill generate 2 to 3 particles is random whether it is 2 or 3. But by doing the cancel on SAYU, you generate 3 every time. So SAYU have a little bit better energy generation than Jean, but practically speaking, they're the same. Interestingly enough is that both of them also have a 80 energy cost elemental burst that heal, except Jean have a passive that refunds 20% of the energy. What that means is that Jean will actually have a lower energy requirement than SAYU, and you will have to build some energy recharge on SAYU since it's just not enough to fund the elemental burst when you're running her as a solo Anemo character in the party, which you will most likely do. Activating SAYU Elemental Burst will heal your entire party, and then also it will summon a friend. This friend will then drop a continuous healing field and will slowly heal up your entire party, especially the active character who is on the field. Honestly, more or less is very similar to Jean, except Jean initial healing is much bigger than SAYU. However, SAYU continuous healing is slightly bigger than Jean, so there's up and down sides. Oh, and of course your friend will also attack them, once again doing swirl damage exactly the same as Jean Elemental Burst. The greatest thing about Jean Elemental Burst is that it heals your entire party immediately for a very huge amount. That means you do not have to waste time to switch to your party member and heal them individually. This saves you a lot of potential field time so you do not lose DPS. While SAYU does it similarly, she does it at a much greater discount. And of course, Jean also have this fall damage abuse trick that you can use in the Abyss and lets you abuse tons of damage from the fall damage. So overall speaking, Jean is going to be a better Anemo healer than SAYU. But it's deserved it because Jean is a 5-star character while SAYU is a 4-star character. Now of course, with SAYU being a 4-star character, that means her Constellation are much easier to obtain in comparison to Jean. However, in my opinion, her Constellation are actually not that good, especially Constellation 1. Now very often people will roll for Constellation 1 similar to what I did here, because this Constellation 1 description looked very similar to Bennett. But that exactly is a trap. You see, C1 Constellation SAYU will let her attack and heal you at the same time, without the HP limitation that you have to be lower than 70% to get healed, or have to be higher than 70% to attack. This looks extremely similar to Bennett, which also ignore the attack percent or HP limit and will simultaneously heal you and give you the attack. But the difference is that Bennett attack buff is very good. So getting C1 Bennett means that you will always get the attack buff, which is dramatic and a game changer. Unlike C1 Bennett, however, SAYU C1 will actually let you heal past 70% all the way back to full. But honestly, that's not a very important factor. In the past, people didn't really complain that Bennett only healed you to 70% and not full, because 70% is good enough for your survivability. So getting a little bit more extra HP on the SAYU Constellation is honestly not that big of a deal. So what that means is that the only thing C1 does is it lets you attack your opponent with your elemental burst, the Daruma, while you're under 70% HP. But the Daruma damage, again, is not a significant portion, it's not a game changer, it's not what's gonna be the deal breaker for your Abyss run. So with that being said, Constellation 1, while it looked really important because it has the same wording as Bennett, the reality is that it actually don't matter that much. And then the other Constellation are like meh, you know, covering 1.2 energy every 2 seconds is not that big of a deal. Getting more damage the longer you roll, but when you're not building SAYU for damage anyway, is again not that big of a deal. And Constellation 6 look interesting because this will let you build full elemental mastery SAYU and do on-field damage and still get a bunch of healing. But the issue is that it's not worth spending time on field to do damage on SAYU when you're just using her as a support healer. You just come in to heal your party and then leave. That is of course unless you're planning on building elemental mastery SAYU to be doing on-field damage. In the past, Tazer Sucrose is a really popular team building elemental mastery on Sucrose, since after the elemental mastery buff, Swirl can do dramatic amount of damage, so building full elemental mastery Sucrose lets you do a insane amount of damage simply by attacking on Sucrose and proccing a lot of Swirl. So commonly people might ask, well, can I replace Sucrose here with SAYU to not only get that Swirl damage and as well as get that healing? The answer is unfortunately no. This is because there are a lot of things in this game that rely on doing normal attack. For example, Beidou Elemental Burst is only gonna proc conditioning on your normal attack. Now when you're using Sucrose, that's fine because you're gonna be normal attacking a lot on Sucrose. But SAYU is not normal attacking when she's rolling. You cannot normal attack and roll at the same time. Precisely because of that, it does not work. But fortunately for you, that does not mean that putting elemental mastery on SAYU and doing on-field damage on SAYU is a dead concept. May I introduce you to the #1 best character in the game, Xiangling. In the past, people have tried to experiment with this idea of running counterclockwise on Xiangling. Because Xiangling elemental spin clockwise, that means by running counterclockwise, you can attempt to counter the spin direction, counter the centrifugal force, and therefore get more hits in. But because it costs you so much stamina, it's very impractical to do so in actual combat. But with SAYU, this is different. You see SAYU spin very fast, and not only that, SAYU also consumes no stamina when you're spinning. So because of that, spinning counterclockwise very fast to counter Xiangling Elemental Burst is very possible, and SAYU Blade is not a dream anymore. This will actually increase the number of times your Xiangling Pyronado spin from hitting 12 times to hitting 18 times. That's a 1.4 times increase. And what do you notice? Vaporize is only a 1.5 times increase. What that means is you can actually do damage as if you're vaporizing. When you put Xingqius in your party, you're gonna be vaporizing Pyronado on Xiangling, which lets you do 1.5 times more damage in total. Now, when you're putting SAYU, you won't be able to vaporize, so your damage will be lower on every single hit. But you're able to do more hits. You'll be able to do 1.5 times more hits. So in return, in total, you're also in some degree doing 1.5 times your total damage. So it is as if you have a Xingqius in your party. And this is great because this lets you free up your Xingqius on your other party. So now you can play the national team with SAYU spinning around, and you can play like Deluxe Xingqius, or you can play Hu Tao Xingqius on the other side of your party. But what I do have to mention is that ultimately this is actually still not as good as just putting Xingqius into your party, simply because Xingqius is a really good character and it's better than SAYU. While SAYU can do respectable amount of damage with her swirl, Xingqius ultimately just do way more damage and therefore will contribute to your total damage output in terms of as a party. But of course, putting SAYU in do let you free up your Xingqius on the other party again, so this lets you play anything else that you might have wanted to play. If you have Child, this is not an issue, but if you don't, it is something you can consider in the Abyss. I do have to say, in my experience in the Abyss floor trove doing this, it's rather difficult to do so you might require a lot of practice since the Abyss is way more chaotic than the typical domain and stuff. The good news is that if you can get it down very consistently, then again, it's a pretty good option to replace using Juice with, and you just spin around the abyss and you have a lot of fun doing so. With that being said, I do heavily recommend that you run a energy recharge weapon on SAYU, either Sacrificial Greatsword or Phoneus Greatsword. Or if you're going the Elemental Mastery build, you can actually use the Elemental Mastery weapon, which is either Rain Slasher, or even better is to use the Bloodstained Greatsword. Because as it turned out, Bloodstained Greatsword actually have more Elemental Mastery than Rain Slasher do at level 90. Now, of course, I don't have it leveled up, but here you can see that Bloodstained Greatsword have 41, and Rain Slasher only at 36. But more or less they're equal, so it doesn't really matter which one you use. If you have Rain Slasher, you can use Rain Slasher. If you don't, then you can use the whatever other sword. Bloodstained Greatsword, this one. Blood. Both Greystones or Song of the Broken Pine are considerable as well, since they do have a passive that provide you with a buff to your entire party. But do remember that you will have to run ER Sense in that case. And of course for Artifact, absolutely no question is every other Anemo character will run the 4VB set. And then you could run either full attack if you're running Heal SAYU, or in my case, I just run the traditional stat, which is Crit Ray, Anemo damage, and then attack percent sense, since I do run a ER weapon on my SAYU. And again, if you're looking to do on-field damage and SAYU, then going full Elemental Mastery would be a pretty good idea. Again, when you're running SAYU, you're most likely running her as a solo Anemo character in your party. That means she'll run into ER issues, and therefore you'll want to be pushing like 180 or so energy recharge. But of course, if you're running double Anemo, for example with tazer and SAYU, then you can drop that requirement by a pretty good amount to all the way maybe to the 120, or even not running any ER at all. With SAYU being a Anemo healer, she is very easy to fit into any team, just basically the exact same as Jean, once again because SAYU is just a budget Jean. And of course, Jean previously was very easy to put into all love team. For example, some people like to bring Jean along with their Xiao, since Jean is a Anemo character and so it synergizes very well. But suppose you don't have Jean, then in this case you can just easily slap in the budget Jean version, which is SAYU. Or perhaps you are similar, you want to play like not Ganyu but like Ayaka Freeze, and then previously Jean is a pretty good option here, since having Anemo in the Freeze team, you can easily get that BB Shred, and then Jean can also act as a healer here. But of course, with Jean being a 5-star, not everyone have Jean, and if you don't have Jean, then you just don't. But now you can just put SAYU in, which is the budget version of Jean, and it's an easy slot into there. Or for example, when you're playing Sucrose Tazer in the past, people like to put Bennett as a last slot. Or if you want to use Bennett on the other party, then Jean is a pretty good slot, since it does give you the double Anemo here. And again, Jean can still do a good amount of swirl damage. But Jean is a 5-star again, so now you can just put it into SAYU to create a full 4-star team that work really well. And SAYU can come out, quickly pop her elemental skill, generate some energy, generate some swirl damage, and then just switch back to Sucrose for doing more damage. So really good 4-stars only team right here. Overall, SAYU is not a meta-defining character. She doesn't really change anything up because she's just the exact same as Jean, aka SAYU is a budget Jean. And that's really is just the truth. There's honestly not much to say except for the fact that SAYU is a budget Jean. There's honestly nothing more to say except the fact that, well, you can play SAYU and Changeling together to make Blade team, which is SAYUNADO. And again, I do still think that Jean is better because of several advantages she have, including the fact that she heals a lot more instantly and she has a fall damage, abuse, and stuff. But that's okay, you know, in general, 4-star characters should be worse than 5-star characters, and the fact that SAYU is really close to Jean really shows how amazing SAYU is. Not meta defining, but honestly as a 4-star characters, a very good one, and it's good enough for me. That's it for this video. As always, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.